The following is a presentation of the Liberty Flames Sports Network from Van Wagner. Broadcasting from the campus of Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia, the Liberty Flames Women's Basketball Show is on the air. Your chance to hear from Liberty Women's Basketball head coach Carey Green comes your way on the Liberty Flames Sports Network from Van Wagner. The Liberty Flames Women's Basketball Show is presented by Freedom First Credit Union. Start banking with Freedom First today. The Liberty Flames Women's Basketball Show is also brought to you by Carter Bank, Life Lived Full, Earthright Mid-Atlantic, your trusted solar and energy efficiency experts. By Foster Fuels, providing reliable service for 100 years. Freedom Heating and Air, serving those who serve us. Carl Miller Realty, caring, competent, trusted advisors. Lynchburg Nissan, nobody beats our prices, nobody. Sentry Exteriors, experience and quality you can trust. Schedule a free estimate at sentryexteriors.com. And by Thompson Brooks Insurance, planning today for tomorrow.
The Hodges with 5 at the top of the arc. She dumps it inside to Smuda. Smuda scoops to the hoop and scores. Beautifully run offense by the Lady Flames.
Now let's talk Liberty Flames women's basketball. Here's your host, the voice of the Lady Flames, Jamie Hall.
Welcome into this week's Liberty Flames Women's Basketball Show. We got a great program ahead for you. We'll hear from Coach Carey Green a little bit later on, talking about the Lady Flames victories at home against Sam Houston and La Tech, and the road trip that's ahead out to El Paso in New Mexico State, which is always a lot of fun. Long trip, a lot of miles put in, a lot of travel, but a very beautiful part of the country. We'll talk about that as well coming up a little bit later. But right now we've got Asia Boone as our Lady Flame, our featured Lady Flame on this week's show. And Asia, you're an old hat now at this. I mean, we've talked several times. You're only a sophomore. It feels like you've been around longer than that.
Yes.
I was talking to Peen the other night, and technically she's got a year on you because she redshirted, but It feels like she's been here forever, and it's only her second year playing, third year overall.
Yeah.
I think that says something good about you guys, because you have a level of maturity that you walked on campus and you belonged. Mm-hmm. And I'm not trying to embarrass you, but you first year you didn't seem like a freshman. You were in the starting lineup and it didn't, you made mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes.
Absolutely.
Even as a sophomore, even as a senior, you're going to make some mistakes.
Oh yeah.
When we get to that point, but you seemed confident from the jump. Did it feel that way to you, or am I just seeing a different version of things?
I actually get this question a lot about are you excited for the game? Are you excited for your game? And I just always say I'm just the same. Like I'm a very stoic athlete. I wouldn't say get excited. I mean, I can, but I'm always ready to hoop. So, I did not expect to start last year, so I wouldn't say my confidence was low, but I would say, I don't know. I just didn't expect it. It was kind of a shock with the first scrimmage. It was actually a funny story. There was probably 2 minutes left before we had to huddle, and Coach Green was doing all the starters and all that stuff. I had to go pee really bad, so I ran to the bathroom in the arena. As I was, took me 2 seconds, and I was wiping my my hands, drying off my hands, and my teammate came in and she was like, Asia, he's waiting for you. I was like, what do you mean? I was just expecting to just he's drawing up plays, telling the first five, what to do, all that stuff. I didn't expect to be in the first five, to be one of those people listening. So he was she was like, yeah, he's waiting for you. I was like, oh shoot. So I hurried up, ran over. Everybody was looking at me. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the most embarrassing thing ever. Sat down. Then he started. But yeah, the rest was history. But yeah, I didn't expect to start at all. But I just went out there and hooped like I usually do. And I just gained my confidence as I played really well.
It's kind of like on an airplane when the pilot or the stewardess gets on and says, To the person who's in the restroom right now when they're not supposed to be, we can't land the plane until you get to your seat, and then you have to walk slowly back to your seat while
Like, it's
everybody on the plane's
awkward.
looking at you. So you've had a similar moment to that, except it was basketball related.
Yeah.
I will say this, you hide it well, because it didn't seem like you were ever nervous last year. It didn't seem like that you were surprised at the role that you were going to have. It's kind of like an old adage in broadcasting. If you sound confident, even if you have no clue what you're talking about, if you sound like you know what you're talking about, you'll probably get through. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
you should do your research. But if something gets thrown at you and you're just kind of winging it, but you sound like, you know those news guy voices, they always sound like they know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Half the time, they're reading it off that monitor for the first time in their life, but they sound like they know that, like they're an expert.
No, they do actually really well. I wouldn't be able to do that.
You do better than you think, judging by
you.
last season.
Thank you.
Now, I've talked to some of your teammates this year, not about you, but this is just all kind of comes full circle. I've talked to some of your teammates, and I think everybody this year would say, for the most part, yeah, I struggled a little bit at this point. It took me a little while to get this together. Few more turnovers than I would like. Shots weren't falling like I would like. How do you feel, though, that your season has gone from a consistency standpoint? Do you feel like, okay, well, maybe I haven't put up 20 every night, but do you feel like you've had a pretty consistent season?
Yeah, I would agree. There was probably 1 or 2 games where I didn't play as good. But like when I'm not scoring, I try to find other ways to contribute to winning the game, which is like rebounds, playing defense, taking charges, all that type of stuff. And Coach Green is always preaching about that 95% in the game. So if my 5% isn't going, then I try to just contribute other things to the game, because there's so much that you can do besides scoring into the game of basketball. So I feel like I've had a consistent season. Granted, I've had some practices where I struggled for sure, but that's just learning experiences, because the next day is a new day. So I just try to be better.
How would you describe the backcourt? Because Jordan Hodges, not that she hasn't had some ups and downs too, but Jordan Hodges has pretty much been consistently your point guard since you've been at Liberty. So she's been the one, and then you and Emma are playing the 2 and the 3, and there's a lot of similarities in your games, but there's some contrasts as well. How would you kind of describe the Liberty backcourt?
I love playing with my vets. Because Liz is also my year. Liz didn't start last year. So I would say me, Jordan, and Emma, I have a lot of confidence when I play with Jordan and Emma, because we're all on the same page and we communicate very well, like on defense and offense. So it's just super easy. Like the game just flows a lot easier because we have that chemistry. We've been playing for each other, like with each other for, I guess, more than a year now. So, but yeah, there's games where like Emma's on, so I'm just trying to feed her. Like if Emma's scoring, then I'm trying to get her the ball so she could keep scoring. And Jordan is the same thing. So, and then they would just do the same for me. So I feel like we just feed off of each other a lot, and we all 3 of us have a lot of confidence, and we just support each other. And yeah.
There've been some games this season where I would have put your game, not just you, but Emma, Jordan, throw Liz in there too, anybody who shoots threes, I would have put you in game against anybody who would have just been having a 3-point shooting contest that with nobody guarding them. I mean, you guys were shooting 60% in some of these games from 3, and then Middle Tennessee happens.
Yeah.
And nothing was going in. How do you explain that?
Honestly, last year too, all three times that we played them, our percentage from whether that was the field goal, the free throw, or the 3-point line, it was always like in the 20s or 30s. And I just think it's because of the pressure that they put on us compared to all of the other teams. I would say it's also it's hard being on the road, trying to shoot at a court you're not familiar with. Of course, you're going to have games where you're on and stuff. But it was kind of tough that all of us were kind of off, but I think it was mostly because of the pressure and how they handled us on the on the defensive end. So, yeah.
Do you think and I hate to put too much emphasis on Middle Tennessee, but they're the champs. They've won it multiple years now, and until somebody knocks them off, they're the team to beat.
Yeah.
Do you think it just comes down to making some shots, or are there some adjustments that are going to have to take place in order to get you in a position to beat them?
I think personally, well, not personally actually, but personally, I need to be more aggressive, but all of us need to be more aggressive. I feel like we get pushed around a lot. I feel like we also need to be more aggressive on the defensive end. Like how they play defense on us, we need to play defense on them, like just like that. So I feel like if we kind of level up and bump up the intensity, I feel like we could rattle them, and it will gain our confidence from getting stops on defense to scoring on offense.
And they don't really play a lot of a bench. I mean, they pretty much just play their starting five and maybe one or two other girls. So if you're giving what you're taking, then maybe that would also kind of tire them out a little bit more, and you'd see towards the end of the game. You see that's more of a football thing or a hockey thing. Yeah. The teams that are more physical by the end of the game can wear the other team down. And now all of a sudden, what was a 3-yard run in the first quarter, you're getting 8 or 10 yards out of a run. You know, don't mean to cross sports over a little bit, but you a big sports fan outside of basketball?
You know, not a lot of people know this about me, but I'm actually a nerd. I don't really watch TV or Netflix and stuff. I actually read a lot. I haven't read in a while because I've been studying for aviation, but I'll watch a movie, or if like good games, like yesterday it was Texas versus South Carolina for the girls, so that was entertaining to watch. But I don't know. I'm not really I'm familiar with some teams and some players, but I'm not like a big fan, or like I don't have a favorite team.
What is the 2025 definition of, at least the Asia Boone 2025 definition of a nerd? Because when you said that, I'm thinking you're big into computers, do you?
No, I like. So the team calls me G-Ma. I'm gonna just start there. I'm called the grandma. For one, it's because I have an old soul, and I like old music, and I don't really listen to rap. I like Christian music.
Give me an example. What's old music to Asia Boone?
Like Tupac, Notorious Big.
So 90s.
Yeah, not like too old.
Yeah, not crazy old.
Yeah, no. Lauryn Hill.
Oh, like there you go.
Oh, yeah.
Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Probably the best album in my lifetime. Yeah. One of the top 5 at least.
Yeah, she's so good. But yeah, I do puzzles.
Really?
Yeah. I used to do puzzles a lot with my big sister. She was into those. That's how I got into it. That's honestly how I got into reading as well. I didn't really like reading as a kid. And then my big sister's nice things was like the Harry Potter series. So I read that, and then we would also watch the movie. And then I found romance books and fiction books. So now, now Amber and Emma have been wanting me to try fantasy. So I'm going to jump into that a little bit and see what I think. So we'll see. Have
you ever done any writing? Have you ever thought about
I actually do.
Your own books?
I'm actually I've written a book. Well, I'm in the process of writing a book, but it's been literally years. But yeah, I love writing. It's
That's
actually
cool.
my favorite subject. Yeah. English.
You mentioned aviation.
Mm-hmm.
How difficult is it to juggle studying aviation and playing basketball?
Extremely. I feel like I have no social life, which is okay because at the same time, I never had a social life. Well, I did, but I've always stayed home and stuff. I'm an introvert and I'm a homebody, but I'll go out sometimes. Like if my friends want to go bowling, activities like that. But it's actually very hard, especially this past semester. I've had to wake up at 5 a.m. every day and fly, and then...
Whoa. So you were already at the point where you're behind the controls.
Oh, yeah. takeoffs, landings, maneuvers.
3 semesters in.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's not too bad. A lot of people think it's complicated because they see the cockpit with all the buttons and stuff. But once you get the hang of it, especially with the planes that we fly, it's not as bad. So it's kind of like driving a car, but a little bit more complex.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Color me very interested. So let's take a quick break, and then I want to finish off with an aviation segment of the show. Because
Okay.
I'm fascinated by aviation. I don't think I could ever be a pilot, but I love even the dramas and some of the negative stuff too. When you see the dramas of the air disasters and things like that, and you're kind of, how did it happen? And
yeah.
And so I'm sure as an aspiring pilot, you got to watch some of the negatives too in order to learn from it. But okay, as much as I love basketball, I'm ready to go for some aviation talk right after this timeout here on the Liberty Flames Women's Basketball Show.
Save big during Lynchburg Nissan's Model Year End Sales Event. Get $8,200 off remaining Pathfinders in stock. Plus, every vehicle comes with our unbeatable 1 million mile powertrain warranty. Stock is limited, so hurry into Lynchburg Nissan or shop 24/7 at lynchburgnissan.com.
What's important isn't that Freedom First has been in business since 1956. What's important is how we've been doing business since 1956. Since day one, we have been accountable to our members, not stockholders. We make loans that cost less, offer savings plans that pay more, and give back to our community, and that hasn't changed. What has changed is our ability to serve you with more locations and more technology to simplify your financial life. Freedom First. It's a place where anyone in our region can bank for good.
You're listening to the Liberty Women's Basketball Show, presented by Freedom First Credit Union. Today's show will continue after this 1-minute timeout on the Liberty Flames Sports Network from Van Wagner.
Turn up the heat. Foster Fuels is a proud partner of Liberty Athletics. Fostering warm moments for 100 years, Foster has been providing exceptional propane and gas services throughout Central Virginia and surrounding areas. From propane to fireplaces and tank installs to tankless water heaters, Foster does it all. Visit fosterfuels.com or download the app to order fuel, pay your bill, and more. Get the customer service you deserve and turn up the heat with Foster Fuels and the Liberty Flames.
Earthlight Mid-Atlantic, your trusted solar and energy efficiency experts. With a focus on honesty, education, and excellence, they light the way to savings, home comfort, and a greener future. Educating homeowners about the power of solar and energy efficiency is their winning game plan. Give Earthlight Mid-Atlantic a call today at 434-200-9716 or visit erepower.com.
Lynchburg Nissan's Model Year End Sales Event is here. Take advantage of 0% financing for 60 months on Classy Rogue or save up to $6,500 on Frontiers. Pair these deals with our exclusive 1 million mile powertrain warranty. Visit Lynchburg Nissan today.
Welcome back into this week's show. We're here with Asia Boone, and Asia mentioned during the last segment that she's not only studying aviation, but has already gotten to the point where you're in the sky, you're flying, and I've got 1,000 questions now, and we'll get to as many of them as I can.
Okay.
Who was your inspiration? What caused you to want to be a pilot? And is that your ultimate goal, to be a commercial pilot? Do you want to be a military pilot? Do you want to be a FedEx pilot? Like, what's the ultimate goal?
As of right now, it's a commercial pilot. Probably specifically Allegiant, because one of their policies is that you can only sleep in your own bed. So it's kind of like a one-way trip of flying, doing my hours, and then coming back, and then being able to be with my future family and all that stuff. What inspired me? I grew up in a military family. Both of my parents were in the Navy. My dad was actually a pilot in the Navy. He was flying helos and all that stuff. So I kind of grew up around that stuff, and I always thought it was fascinating. And but what really sparked my interest, or what really made me push me to do it, is my mom and I's thing. Well, one of my mom and I's things is to watch the Top Gun, because she loves Tom Cruise and all that stuff. So yeah, we went to see the new Top Gun Maverick movie in the movie theater, And I cried. I cried. I was just so inspired, and I just thought it was so cool. I was kind of iffy about what I wanted to do before I got to college, but after that, I was like, yeah, Mama, I think this is what I want to do. So, yeah, that's what kind of inspired. It's kind of cliche, but it's okay.
And I'm just fascinated by the fact that from arriving on campus to a year and a half in, you're already
Flying.
In the clouds.
Yeah.
Were you expecting that?
No, not at all. But it's a good adrenaline rush. I'm that type of person that actually kind of thrives in that. I guess that kind of works with basketball. But yeah, I just love like the feeling of taking off and the flights and all that stuff. Granted, it is a lot to control. Like talking to ATC, getting the clearance, and then actually taking off, make sure all the equipment and the instruments are good. But yeah, I love it. I did not expect it though.
So what do you find? Pipers or Cessnas or what are you in right now?
Cessna 172s. So it's a single engine aircraft. And it has a prop, so it's only one propeller in the front. And yeah, they're very small airplanes. Like there's 2 seats in the front and either 1 seat or 2 seats in the back. And yeah, it's very like it's a very good starter airplane for beginners like me, because it just has like the regular equipment that I should be using for the aircraft. But then as I get an expert to it and then really get going and know like it's second nature, then I'll probably get a call date to airlines and then go through their program and get familiar with their equipment on top of what I already know.
So you and an instructor, ever any passengers in the back?
Yes. So for our program, we have to have flight buddies for the first private pilot one. So I was in private pilot one. That's the first starting. So I had my flight buddy, Cockway. She was really good. And then my instructor. So we would both be flying. So a usual like morning would probably, we would debrief, get the weather briefing, meaning like see what the weather is looking like for the next couple of hours while we're in the air, see if anything changes, if there's any winds, turbulence of any sort. And then we go up, and then I would say I would probably be flying first, probably for the first hour and a half, and then we'll land at like probably a non-controlled airport. And then we would land, go to the bathroom, and then we would switch, and then she would do her lesson. So, and then we would fly back to Lynchburg.
In those planes, can you fly from both sides?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you wouldn't necessarily have to land and switch.
Oh yeah,
you could switch in the middle if need be. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's been instances where I've almost tried to land, but our requirement, like our minimum requirement for Private Pilot 1 students is 15 knots, which is how fast the wind is going and how strong it is. So, which is pretty strong. So it kind of makes the landing a little bit more complex, which is I'm not experienced in it yet. So there's been times where my instructor had to land the plane for safety wise.
Okay. Gotcha. So you're not at a point yet to where there's always going to be an instructor in what we think of as the co-pilot seat, or maybe vice versa, that could take over whenever necessary.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And then so the reason you're landing and swapping out is because he's staying in his seat or she's staying in her, and you're switching seats.
Yeah, with her.
Now I'm with you. I didn't think that you and your fellow student were in the pilot and co-pilot seats and the instructor was just chilling out in the back.
No.
I wasn't thinking that was the case, but I just wanted to, I'm just getting the visual right. But there's still, that means that there's a fourth seat empty. I'm saying you should send out an invitation. When you get to that point, when you can, send out an invitation to some of your teammates and maybe Coach Green, and so they can they get an idea of, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm a little late to practice, now you know why. You know, I'm in the great blue yonder. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's really, really awesome to think about. I know we've had pilots that have come through the women's basketball program before. Brooke Basinger did it. I think she might be piloting somewhere now. I'm not sure where. I know she was, I think, looking at maybe Southwest. I don't know if she got on with them or not. But it just still always fascinates me how advanced the aviation program here is at Liberty, and how quickly that you can get hands-on and involved, which is amazing. Yeah. And you can do that at the radio or the television station or other aspects of things, but it's a little different. You know, doing your own radio show after 2 to 3 semesters doesn't put anybody's life at risk.
Yeah, absolutely.
Including your own. So that's. Do you watch any documentaries? You said you're more of a book person. You probably maybe read more aviation type stuff, but do you ever watch any of those? And again, I don't want to bring up the negative. Seems like I'm always kind of doing that, but like the air disasters, the Maydays, and because I find those shows so cool.
I've
not
actually
because people passed away, but just learning from it.
Like how the aircraft failed and what caused the accident. No, not really, because I already have to do that for some of my classes. So I have to do kind of like reports, or I've had to do papers on type of reports on accidents and stuff. And I've had to read the report, what happened, like what failed in the aircraft or what caused the accident or what the pilots did, human errors, all that stuff. And then I would just like dissect it, just be like, oh, okay, so this is what I'm not supposed to be doing as a pilot. So yeah, those were very interesting to me, but I've never watched documentaries.
The one that I think you should watch, and don't do any research on it unless you already have before you watch it. And I'll look it up and get you the actual number. It was a British air flight in the 80s, and they experienced something that is just unthinkable. But the way they put this documentary together, you don't know what it is, what they're dealing with. Yeah. They don't know what they're dealing with, and it changed aviation really forever.
Interesting.
And everyone made it out alive. So that's not a sad one. So if someone's watching right now and they go, I don't want to watch a sad documentary. It's Air Emergency, Mayday. It's one of those, but if you just type in. Do
you know what aircraft number it was?
I'm going to look it up.
Okay.
And I'll find out for you. And by the time I edit this, we will put it on the screen.
Okay.
What it is for the people that might want to follow along at home. But it's really pretty cool. There's another British Airways one, and I will kind of give away the punchline on this one a little bit, where maintenance didn't screw the windshield in correctly. And normally everything is done in a way to where the pressurization of the aircraft keeps everything in place, whether it's a plug door or it's bolted in from the inside, so the pressure of the aircraft, the windshield can't go anywhere. But this was an older aircraft where it had to be screwed in from the outside. Yeah. They used the wrong size threads.
Oh, wow.
Boom. Halfway through, not even halfway through the flight, 10,000 feet, whatever it was, the windshield's gone. And the pilot is out of
because of the cabin pressure.
And they're holding on to his legs. And he's out of the pot. He's alongside. They can see him out the side window, and he survived. They think they're holding a dead body the whole time. But they land the plane, and now there's hurricane winds coming into the cockpit. So you've got the head flight attendant. He's in there helping. You've got, I think back then they had an engineer, so there were 3 in the cockpit. The co-pilot's flying, the engineer's trying to help keep the pilot in and do what he can do.
Wow.
And they land, and everybody survived.
Wow.
That's another really cool one, too. I'll get you that flight number. We'll put that on the screen right now. So, yeah, I'm your go-to guy as far as air documentaries, because I've probably watched every one of them. The Malaysia thing, where do you think that plane is? Did you follow that at all?
No.
The Air Malaysia flight. I forget now. But it just disappeared. Like it just, the plane disappeared, and they think that it might have been sabotage. It might have been maybe one of the pilots with a suicide mission, you know. And,
oh my goodness.
They don't know. They have no clue, because the satellite tracking kind of has an idea of where it went, but they don't know It was
With
in the
passengers?
ocean with passengers, full flight of passengers
Oh,
gone
my
in the
goodness.
ocean. They assume, but they still haven't found the wreckage. And I think they did this elaborate search. I think this was back in 2014, I want to say, an elaborate search all across the ocean. They couldn't find anything. I think now the Malaysian government is funding another attempt to try to find the plane just
Wow.
to give closure to those families.
loved ones,
but it's
yeah.
a big mystery. Like, where did it go? Just disappeared out of nowhere. So there are some really fascinating. Now,
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
insane.
now I'm not trying to discourage you from your career.
Oh,
but,
no.
but, you know, it's like in basketball. Sometimes you got to look at the
mistakes.
turnovers in
Yeah.
order to figure out how not to do it again the next
Absolutely.
time around. So
Yeah, for sure.
all right. Well, I've given you some things to watch on television coming up, and
Yeah.
I think it's National Geographic Channel or something like that. Hopefully, it's on Netflix or Amazon Prime or some way that you can get a hold of it. But
Okay.
all right. Well, and when you watch those, let me know. You know, come back afterwards and give me the critique and
Okay.
say, this is what I think happened there, or this is what should have happened, or
Okay.
what you learned from it. So that should be fun.
Okay.
Well, we've got to get you on your way because as we're recording this, you've got an academic session coming up, which connects with everything we just talked about as far
Yeah.
as the aviation side of things. But I will finish with this. Let's pretend like you finish playing college basketball and you get an opportunity and you play professional basketball, and that's great. Maybe you don't even want that. I don't know. But let's say, so just to give you the chance to play pro ball if you want, 15 years from now, is that dream job being a senior captain, maybe 20 years from now to be a senior captain, maybe 25. Anyway, being a senior captain for Allegiant Airlines, doing the Roanoke to Orlando haul every day, or maybe San Diego to Orlando or something like that, wherever you want to end up being. Is that the dream goal?
I would say so. I've also thought about being a charter pilot or a FedEx pilot or UPS. So I don't know yet. But as of right now, for sure, commercial. So.
Well, the charter part would be amazing. How cool would it be if 10 years from now or whenever
I'm flying y'all.
Yeah, if the Liberty Women's Basketball Team. I'm your pilot. I'm your captain, Asia Boone. That would be amazing if that came to be. Well, I was not expecting to go down the trail that we went. I knew we'd talk a little bit about aviation, but that was really fun to get into some of the weeds a little bit on something other than basketball for a change.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, all the best, and again, if you ever, when you do get to that point that you can have a guest in the fourth seat,
I got you.
sign me up. I'm down.
I
might, take a little Dramamine just to be safe in case it's turbulent, but I'm ready to go.
Of course.
That was Asia Boone. We'll be back with head coach Carey Green right after this here on the Liberty Flames Women's Basketball Show.
At Carter Bank, we believe life is best lived full of opportunities and dreams, of goals achieved and promises kept. We've been creating opportunities for more people and businesses to prosper since 1974. That means great local lending, convenient access to your money, accounts and guidance that make it easier to get more done. We are Carter Bank, the preferred community bank of Liberty Flames Athletics. Visit carterbank.com to learn more. Member FDIC, Equal Opportunity Lender.
Curious about the Central Virginia housing market? Carl Miller Realty are your caring, competent, trusted advisors for real estate sales in Central Virginia. With over 100 years of combined experience, they are committed to helping clients make informed housing decisions. For a winning game plan and to discover the value of your home, visit carlmillerrealty.com to make your next move a slam dunk.
You're listening to the Liberty Women's Basketball Show, presented by Freedom First Credit Union. Today's show will continue after this 1-minute timeout on the Liberty Flames Sports Network from Van Wagner.
Thompson Brooks Insurance has been serving Virginia for over 40 years, helping individuals and businesses with their insurance and investment needs. The team at Thompson Brooks is experienced in understanding life and health insurance, Medicare, and retirement planning. Thompson Brooks Insurance can be reached at 434-385-8500 or online at thompsonbrooksinsurance.com. Thompson Brooks Insurance, planning today for tomorrow.
Century Exteriors offers exterior home renovations, including but not limited to gutters, roofing, siding, home additions, and much more. Century Exteriors makes the process seamless. Call 434-239-6722 for a free on-site estimate or visit centuryexteriors.com and Century Exteriors on Facebook and Instagram. Century Exteriors is a proud supporter of Liberty Flames Athletics.
Into this week's Liberty Flames women's basketball show. I'm now joined by head coach Carey Green. Coach, welcome into the show.
Thank you, Jamie.
It's a fun time of year, and sometimes you and I get off on rabbit trails. We start talking a little bit of football after a game's over, or even maybe sometimes on the pregame show if it's the Super Bowl or something like that. But if you're a sports fan, and I know you are, you just got to love this time of year with the NFL playoffs going on, the college football championship games coming up, women's and men's basketball are in full force as far as the conference schedule, and if you're a hockey or professional basketball fan, the NHL and NBA is going on too. So you could have 3 or 4 televisions on at your house each night, and you still might not be able to keep up with everything. Describe an NFL Sunday afternoon, especially if you don't have practice. What are you interested in? Which teams are you rooting for?
Well, to tell you the truth, Jamie, either I'll fall asleep, and it is a time for a lot of goodies. We're talking about chips and drinks and hot wings and a lot of food. So I might eat a little bit and fall asleep, but. A lot of times, that's my day of rest. I just walk away. I mean, yesterday, I went to the woods very shortly, but I went to the lake. I just want to get away. I think God wired us to, get some rest. So I'm watching those games like Monday through Saturday and need a day off. And I can see the rest of the world. My sports world is Monday through Saturday. It's 6 days a week, so I need a day off. But I keep one eye on the game, but in the sports world, but the other eye shut, sleep. Okay, or I can just walk away. And because there's a lot of games, girls' games on Sunday, too. So that's been a popular thing on weekends is to be involved in some type of sports. And we are, too. It's just that if I got to find a day I need to pull away. And if our schedule can be a Sunday, I try to stay away from TV and wash the car or do other things.
Well, I'm sure Denise has a list of things, too, that accumulates by Sunday afternoon. If I had to press you, though, Ohio State or Notre Dame?
Well, I don't like either one of the teams, but they've earned their opportunity for a national championship. Notre Dame seems like they've got the luck of the Irish. It seems like they execute pretty good, but I think Ohio State is just the big bullies on the block. Their defense really looks pretty good, and we're talking about just front 4 guys just making plays. I'd say Ohio State by a field goal.
All right. Well, at least we're talking about a good game, and I think that's what most of us would want. I got to just out of my allegiance with Kelly Deo, I've got to root for Notre Dame. But don't tell Paul Carmody or Joe Carmody that I said that because they're big Ohio State fans. Yeah. I think Emma Hess probably would punch me in the head if she heard me say that too. We got a lot of Ohio influence in the athletic program. But it should be fun. Should be a fun game on Monday night. Well, let's talk a little bit of basketball now. I guess that's why everybody tuned in. When you look at the Conference USA standings, and I was talking to Emma, I think it was Emma, about this. There was an old adage that in conference, if you can whole serve at home, win all your home games, which I know is not easy to do, but if you can win all your home games and split your road games, you're probably going to finish at the top, if not the top of the standings. And right now, that's exactly what you've done. You've won your home games. You split your 2 road games, 2 tough road games, and you're 3-1 in the conference, and in pretty good position this early in the season.
Yeah, I'm not going to put a lot into it, and we've played 4 games, and yes, it's always hard to win on the road. It's hard to win at home, so we're only about a fourth of the way through the season. Too early to say. We just need to take every day and look at our blind spots and the things that we need to work on and get better at it and be more even and consistent with it. That's been our issue all year, inconsistency. And there's times we look good, times that you can score 93 points on Tennessee, times that you actually beat Duke 3 quarters or 2 quarters, but that 1 quarter, very similar to the most recent game against a very well coached and a very disciplined and athletic Louisiana Tech. We played well for 3 quarters, and then 4th quarter opened the door. And I can't really put my finger on anything and say, well, it's the offense or the defense. It's inconsistent with everybody that's on the floor. And we need our bench. Our bench has been stepping up at times and sometimes non-existent. So we're looking at consistency across the board for our team.
I think we can say one of the true benefits, or I guess one of the accolades that you could put on a person, or the praise, I guess that's the word I was looking for, that you can put on a person, is if they can self-critique, and if they can say, you know, I've had some shortcomings in this area. I haven't had the best season in this area. And over the course of the last couple of weeks in conversations with Jordan Hodges, she said, yeah, I've had some inconsistent moments this year. Emma Hess talking about the shooting, the shots not falling like they normally would. She was wanting to get out of that, as well. And so, but the fact that they can stand back and go, yeah, I need to improve. I need to get better. From a coaching standpoint, has to be encouraging, but at the same time, you've also been able to kind of rely on some other players that have stepped in and filled in when maybe somebody wasn't playing well.
Yeah, that's right. You got a team. You got a bench. You have a substitute one way or the other. And first step is self-awareness. If you're playing well or not playing well, there's a balance there. Are you going to criticize yourself and take yourself in a deeper hole? Are you going to let a coach criticize you and try to pull you up so it's corrective criticism and give you something? That's coaching. That's coaching yourself instead of listening to yourself. Poor old me. Oh, poor old me. No, I need to seize this moment to do something better than I've ever done it. So I'm talking to myself instead of listening to myself. That's part of the psychology with that. And then you have the coaches. But first step of maturity, first step of progress and developing would be being able to evaluate where you're at and what can you do and seize the moment. Your emotions is going to get beat by performance anyway, but use your emotions to perform at a higher level. Don't get caught up in all the emotions. That's sort of how God has wired me. But yes, I get emotional at times, but most of my emotions are during a practice, trying to get a practice just right for a performance in practice that's going to translate over into a game. I personally I don't like to ride up and down, up and down, up and down. I like a steady climb up. I try to coach that way. Not that I'm copying anything or anybody. It's just life is full of ups and downs, and we're taught from scriptures that we need to have our eyes focused on the right thing because bad days are coming and rainy days are coming. And when we try something, sometimes we step out of the boat and we walk on water, but we also sink too when our eyes are not focused. So we just try to keep it a game that we can learn some life lessons, and it's really how we respond in life a lot of times. So what you see on the court sometimes is played out in an individual's life as well.
I think this entire season we've probably had some moments. I'm not trying to just focus on the negative, because I think I'm fishing for a positive in this. Everybody on the team has had some down games pretty much. We saw inexplicably Bella, who is one of the most consistent people you could imagine, didn't have a rebound in that game against Toledo, and you go, how in the world could that even be possible? And I think she was shaking her head too after that game was over. We've talked about Emma having some struggles a little bit here and there, Jordan having some struggles. There's been a couple of games where Asia, the shots maybe weren't falling the way she would have liked. But the one player that I had to really sit and think, well, when was the last time that she had a bad game, was Elizabeth. She really doesn't have those 30-point, everybody in the arena knows that she's had a career high scoring game, but she has just been consistent throughout the entire season, and sometimes that kind of goes under the radar because of what she brings to the table.
The last game, somebody lost Twill, a shoe, a tire, okay? And I think it was Avery. And that happens. Games happen like that. The one thing you're talking about, Elizabeth, is she's using her effort to rebound and play defense. That effort has been consistent. The shot goes in and don't go in. I think she's got sort of a key to this. 95% of the time you're running up down the floor, you're observing what's going on, and you're reacting to that. Only 5% of the time you get the ball in your hand, and we all was it assist, was it a turnover, was it a shot and miss, or was it a score? That's how you're being judged right there, but it's only for 5%. 95% consistency. You're getting consistency out of Elizabeth because she's operating in about 95% on effort, and it's valuable. Here we are. It is a negative because we're focusing on, Emma's not shooting the ball well, and so-and-so's not doing this, not leading the team. Well, we're talking about that 5% when even though the shooting wasn't really good at the beginning of the game with La Tech, we were playing good defense. And then our shots fell, and we separated real early, like 10-2, and they're calling timeout. Take that back. We shot pretty well that particular game, but it's going to be games like that you can look back at a Duke or look back at Tennessee. There's times we can make shots. We need to do that other 95%. We're going to rebound and play defense. 93 points should have been able to beat 95% of the people that you play, but we lose that one because we didn't get back. We turned the ball over and didn't rebound very well and didn't defend very well. So being locked into that and the spatial awareness of what we're doing, it's hard to play like your hair's on fire on defense, and then you're Iceman on the other end, you're surgeon on the other end. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard to coach. You'll hear a phrase, and you've heard them all from me. I remember, Coach, you said that. Let it work. I say it. That means slow it down. Read it. Don't get out of control. Get up in the air, especially with the ball in your hand. And we do a lot of one-on-ones in practice to help our defense and to help our offense as well. I think our whole culture is made up of one-on-one and not team play, so it's hard to sort of learn to fit.
I want to finish this little segment of what we're talking about by saying there have been more games that have been positive than negative with those girls on the starting unit. I'm just saying there have been a couple of times where there have been a game that you could single out. So let me brag on them a little bit. Bella with her 6 block shots and double-double against Sam Houston. We've seen games this season where Jordan Hodges is your leading rebounder at halftime, and she's the point guard, and she's picked up 5 defensive boards and is leading the team in that area. Has 6 assists, and Emma is she's almost scored 1,000 points, so she's obviously had quite a career. And Asia's been pretty consistent with her scoring over the course of this season as well. She's averaging double digits in scoring. So I don't want to just completely pile on to the starters, but I was having a struggle finding a game where I go, Elizabeth just didn't show up in this game, and I couldn't really find one because she's just been consistent all year long. Let's real quick to throw a little bit of credit out there to the bench, because we've seen some games where your bench has put up a lot of points. We've seen Claudia and Anna come in and play the point in the last few games and give you some quality minutes. And you mentioned Avery off the bench, and Brooke Moore. How can I forget Brooke? When she comes in, she's an absolute ball of energy and a spark plug, and she's playing above the rim on both sides of the court.
Yeah, circling back. We have, and the players have high expectations, and we don't meet them. Yeah, it hurts us. But what they're accomplishing is something worthy of praise. And those girls, like Emma's going to score 1,000 points unless Jesus comes back or she gets injured. She's going to get that. And the inconsistency is across the board for the entire team. Okay, we're looking for that. The bench has contributed in a major way. Let's take the last game. When you just put our 5 against their 5, we lost 54 to 47 or 42. You probably didn't know that, did you?
No.
We're talking about 5-on-5. But we won that game by 11. Had a 19-point game lead with that 5-on-5. But it also dwindled with that 5-on-5 later, and our bench came in and outscored and crushed their bench. So the difference was really on the bench. We needed a bench at Middle Tennessee, and they never showed up. No, we didn't get 1 point from our bench against Middle Tennessee. We struggled in that game across the board for everybody. But building for the future, and I mean the future, very next game, games left in the conference, and games ready for tournament play across the board. We need to eliminate blind spots and get better in the bench. We need them to come in. The majority's on the bench, Jamie. We got 8 on the bench and 5 on the floor. Okay, the majority needs to rule when they get in and have those opportunities. And for the future, we're talking about next season, next opportunity to maybe play international and play national summer competition. Somebody like Efi or nobody's seen. Or maybe Liz plays on her national team, or Ping plays on her national team during the summer. Preparing them for that, and preparing them for really beyond basketball, their future, preparing them, helping them grow in areas that have eternal values, and that changes their lives.
You mentioned Peen. I'd forgotten about Peen. Emmy also as well. They both had some outstanding games this season, and especially from both those young ladies. Peen coming off of the injury, and Emmy thinking she was going to redshirt this year, and having that pulled out because of the injuries.
The talent across the board is very good. The performance has been inconsistent, which is normal, but we're trying to eliminate that. We'll never get eliminated. We just need to always have somebody fill in when somebody's not playing very well. When you lose a shoe, somebody's got you and they're playing.
I know I'm getting pressed on time here, but you had an interesting conversation. I was wondering what the conversation was after Avery came back and got her shoe. You kind of pulled her aside, and you had a smile on your face, but you guys were talking for about 20 or 30 seconds after she found her shoe. Do you remember what that was?
I can't remember where I was.
The way I translated it was like you see the lip reading. I say, I bet Coach Green's saying, the next time you lose your shoe, don't throw it at me, because she kind of threw it over in your direction.
Yeah. You know what? And I've not seen it, but that can be a technical.
Yeah.
That could be a technical.
If it hits an opponent, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Or to any bench. I mean, I don't know. And we won't even go there. I can't remember. I think she told me a dirty joke, and I started laughing. That's where the smile came from. No, that didn't happen. I can't remember. It was a lighthearted moment. She didn't mean to do it, and I can't remember what I even said.
Yeah, I figured it was either
She looked at me, and I do remember. She looked at me. She had her back to you, so you didn't see it too.
Hey, some of those funny moments, I was really hoping she would score in a sock foot, because that would have been a highlight that would have been replayed for her entire career of her scoring a basket with only one shoe on. But she did have to get back and play defense with only one shoe, and seemed to do okay on that possession. When we take a look at the standings, MTSU at the top, 4-0, and you got the Flames and FIU at 3-1, and that's a little bit of a surprise. Well, we won't get too much into all the details of this, but FIU's really had some struggles before conference, dealing with a lot of injuries, but they've played well once conference has started up. And then you got New Mexico State, one of the two teams that you're going to be playing this coming week. Western Kentucky, you've already played. La Tech, you've already played. And then UTEP 1-2. So the games coming up this week, UTEP 1-2, New Mexico State 2-1. I know we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves talking about New Mexico State. You only play one game at a time, but when you think of the styles of those two teams and traveling out there, having to play them on the road, what are some of the obstacles that you see ahead?
UTEP, pressing, zone press, and drop back at the zone. New Mexico, man-to-man, press, man-to-man, half court. Totally different. And Kaiser is one of the best players in the whole league. If she becomes the player of the year, I wouldn't be surprised. A very tough kid. And she'll be a handful. And overlooked to, I think she was maybe second leading scorer on the team as their post player at New Mexico. She really impresses me. She stays with a simple game. She's got a great body. She moves very well. I think she's had big games against us. So they have the inside, outside, and some athletes on that team. So totally two different teams. We're preparing even today. First day back after a day off, as we always do, but typically the first day back is all about us and working on some skill sets. We'll do that, but there's going to be a blend of those two teams because of the shortness of the turnaround and the travel and things like that.
It's a fun trip in that it's a beautiful part of the country. So much of a contrast to what we're used to with green mountains, and you go out there and you've got the burnished mountains, and you can throw a rock into Mexico, and so it's a very unique part of the country, and it's kind of cool to get out there and see all of that. And I know the girls love traveling, and I know some of them this might be their first time being out there and seeing West Texas or New Mexico. But balancing that interest of the travel with it being a business trip, probably one of the tougher parts of being a coach.
Yeah. I would like for them to see and be educated by seeing other parts of our country and other cultures. But this trip is not working out that way. This is a business trip. And it's just the timing. I mean, we're starting classes today. And to be out there playing in the White Sands, we'd love to do it, but they might need to spend the time at the hotel in a study hall situation, make sure they don't get behind. More of a business trip this time. It's unfortunate. Not that we haven't had some good times. We've had some good times. Cherokee Invitational right before Christmas. They got to see a different part of the country and a different culture, and see casinos even. It's not that we're indulging in that, but it's educational. But this is purely a business trip, and we're going to treat it like that because every game that we play is for every team. It's important, and we need to stay on that upward climb to be the best in the conference. You're going to have to be prepared. And when we come back, right after that, FIU's coming up, and they're no joke. They're playing very hard. They're playing physical. They're surprising people, but they're good, and they're surprising people, and they don't have the preseason player of the year even playing yet, and she's supposed to be injured and coming back, maybe even playing against us here, maybe playing certainly in February, and so who knows? We got to do what we got to do. I don't need to be spending time thinking and worrying about things, be anxious for nothing, and just work on our team.
I will close with this. When I was talking with Peen the other night, the girls that were on the squad when we were still in the A-Sun and that have now, transitioned over to being in Conference USA. And sometimes you don't think about this perspective, but in her case, being from the Netherlands and not really knowing the United States, not having traveled here very much, or if at all, by being in those two different conferences, she has seen a lot of the United States in places that if she would have only been in one conference, she would have only seen about half as much, and a lot of really cool and unique locations over the years. And so I think sometimes we take that, there's so much made about NIL, and there's so much made about, all the things and all the benefits that the athletes get as far as education and all that, which is 100% great. But just to being able to see parts of the world and parts of the country, like you've taken groups to Israel multiple times, and it's a blessing to be a part of a Division I athletics program, and at the very minimum, just the places you get to see and the places you get to travel and the people that you get to meet during that time frame.
Yeah, you take a window of a very active young person. We're talking about 18 to about 23, 25, and they're working on education. Their lives are changing. They're seeing things, and we try to help them keep their eyes locked in on eternal values and being the very best at what they're doing and not being sidetracked with temporal goodies and lifestyles, because we know how it goes. It's always up and down, but that's part of education, is meeting these people, being in different cultures and seeing separate and different things. Our country's certainly blessed, and from the East Coast to West Coast, man, you could spend your life just in Virginia and not see all the beauty that we have. We got the mountains and the mountain streams and the oceans and the beach, and that's the reason Virginia's for lovers.
Beautiful part of the country, and the Lady Flames are going to be traveling to another beautiful part of the country coming up. Coach, we appreciate your time and wish you the best this week. We'll see you out in El Paso in a couple of days.
Thank you, Jimmy.
We'll close up the show with this. Flames going to try to continue their winning streak. They've won the last two, having beaten Sam Houston and then Louisiana Tech. Now we'll be playing on Thursday against El Paso. UTEP, that game is at 9 o'clock Eastern. And then on Saturday, New Mexico State, which is a 4 o'clock Eastern time zone. Of course, local time is Mountain out there. And you can follow along on libertyflames.com. That'll give you all the links to the television outlets that you can watch on. You can listen to the radio as well and follow along with Paul Carmony's game recaps and game notes that'll get you ready for each of those as well. Until we talk again, this is Jamie All saying so long and God bless.
You've been listening to the Liberty Flames Women's Basketball Radio Show with head coach Carey Green. Today's show has been presented by Freedom First Credit Union. Start banking with Freedom First today. The Liberty Flames Women's Basketball Show has also been brought to you by Carter Bank, Life Lived Full, Earthright Mid-Atlantic, your trusted solar and energy efficiency experts. By Foster Fuels, providing reliable service for 100 years. Freedom Heating and Air, serving those who serve us. Carl Miller Realty, caring, competent, trusted advisors. Lynchburg Nissan, nobody beats our prices. Nobody. Century Exteriors, experience and quality you can trust. Schedule a free estimate at centuryexteriors.com. And by Thompson Brooks Insurance, planning today for tomorrow. Liberty Flames Basketball is an exclusive presentation of the Liberty Flames Sports Network from Van Wagner.